Darkness. We all know what that is. We have all lived in that place, away from God and away from His light. But the question is, why is it so hard to keep God in our hearts? Well, if you want to know the answer for that question, stay with me, because we're going to talk about that today. There is no secret in saying that receiving God in your life and in your heart can be really uncomfortable. And in order to help you understand a little bit better, I thought of this example. Imagine that receiving God in your life is like receiving somebody in your house. But receiving God in your heart is like receiving somebody not only in your house, but in the room of your house. And let's just start off by saying that you don't receive even everybody in your house. If somebody goes to your house, that person has to be a family member, or it has to be your friend, or it has to be someone that you really trust. Come on, guys, let's be honest. We don't receive every pizza delivery guy that shows up at the door and tell them, hey, come inside, feel comfortable. This is also your house. Listen, if you are a Latino like me, this example of the pizza delivery guy don't apply to you. And just to make things clear, you already got the point that it's complicated for you to receive somebody in your house. Now imagine how much more complicated it is for you to receive somebody in the room of your house. So your heart/your room is a place of intimacy. It's a place where you spend most of your time. It's a place where you can express yourself, you can just be yourself. Maybe you can have a relaxed moment, or maybe you can have a quiet moment for yourself. Hey, if you are a parent, those quiet and lonely moments in your room don't apply to you. And this is exactly where God wants to live. He wants to live in your heart, in your room. And there's only one problem. Your room is not only the most intimate place in the house, a lot of the times it's also the one with the bigger mess. And let's be really honest, guys. When you're gonna have people over your house, the last place that you think of cleaning is probably your room. Why? Well, that's easy. Your room is the last place that people are gonna go in. It's just too intimate for them. They're not gonna go inside. And if you're a little bit more like me, when I have unexpected guests, I would even collect all the mess in all the places in the house and just throw them in my room. Why do I do that? Well, I just want the house to look presentable. And I don't really care about my room at that moment. Plus, it's just easier and faster. They're coming home, coming home. So in the same way, we learn how to hide things in our hearts. We hide all our pain, all of our frustration, emotion, feelings, and all of our mess. So when people look at our lives, they look presentable. But what about our hearts? Who looks inside of your heart? God does. And this is exactly why it is so hard for us to keep Him there. This is also the main reason why people don't receive God in their hearts. Because sometimes they have so much stuff in there that it's so much easier to cover it with darkness. Jesus said in the book of John 8:12, and I'm going to quote Him. He said, I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, but he will have the light of life. And this sounds really beautiful. But there's still something that darkness does for us that the light of God can never do. And that is that the darkness hides our mess. And darkness brings us to our comfort zone. It is always going to be easier to keep in our comfort zones and keep walking in darkness than it is to learn how to walk under the light of God. Have you ever noticed that your pupils adjust to darkness? I'm pretty sure that you have been in a room before where it was really dark and you couldn't see anything. But after being there for a while, your eyes are starting adjusting and all of a sudden your vision improved. Well, in the same way, when you live too much time in darkness, your heart can adjust to live without God. And without you realizing, you start living without His light and His guidance in your life. But remember that the path of least resistance is always a terrible teacher. But when you do receive Jesus in your heart/your room, you know what's the first thing that He does? He turns on the light. And when the light is on, it exposes everything. All of the mess that you have in there is all of a sudden exposed. And when that happens, trust me, that is not a good feeling. Have you ever been exposed like that? The advantage is that when the light is on, you can start identifying everything that is in there. And when you're able to identify everything that is in there, then you can start putting everything in the place where it belongs. Have you ever heard the phrase, God is my helper? Having the light on in your room doesn't guarantee that you won't face hard situations in life, that you won't face problems. The difference is that when you do, God is going to help you get rid of all of the mess and identify those things that don't belong there. It's just a way to live a little bit lighter. And you could ask me, why should I live in light and risk myself to be exposed when I'm currently living in darkness and I just seem to be doing fine? And that's a very clever question, but here's your answer. You have to remember that darkness doesn't guarantee for you to not have any problems or really hard situations in life. In fact, it takes away from you the opportunity to grow and overcome those things. Why do you think I say that you wouldn't be able to overcome those things? Well, because since your room is going to be so dark, you probably wouldn't be able to find the answers that you need in there, since you're not going to be able to see anything. You have to remember that God's promise for me and you is not to make our lives easier or make us more comfortable. It's in fact to make us stronger, and that even in uncomfort, find our way to be happy. It is really hard to prioritize the long term of anything in life when you think that you should feel comfortable in every single moment. Also, remember that the more time you spend in your discomfort zone, the more your comfort zone will expand later on. So now you know why it is so hard to keep God in our hearts. Because we hide our mess there. But you know what? We're not the only ones that hide stuff. Did you know that God hides his stuff too? God likes to hide his biggest blessings behind uncomfort and behind fear. Do you feel that? Do you hear that? That is God knocking at the door of your heart. So what are you waiting on? Go on and turn on that light.